Hello, this is Guava Moment, and welcome to the results for the Week 1 challenges. So let's start with methane. How do we get a bunch of hydrogen attached to this carbon? Well, I can show you the wrong way to do it first. The wrong way to do it would be to move all of the hydrogens around first and then bind the carbon to it that way. This is the solution submitted by Java Jesus. It kind of is slow because blue is only helping to move the hydrogen, not really helping to build a molecule by itself. The solution even uses bonder priority. The bonders have to be in this specific order, otherwise it doesn't bond properly. But it's kind of slow. 218. And honestly, you can even speed this up just a little bit by let's see here. Smoothing out some of these loops. This is the... whoops. There we go. This is pretty much the exact same solution, but loops are a little bit tighter. That saved him 18 symbols. But we can do better than this. So here's my thought process for this. What we're going to have to do is start with blue going first, red doing input beta, so that way on the very first cycle we can have... let's see... red, input beta, and blue grab, in that order, since red always happens first. And then blue will go up, we'll have some simultaneous bonding action, so then we get half of the molecule done. You can flip-flop or use a sensor here. If you rotate it around twice, you can kind of repeat what you just did. That'll be an alpha here and here. Rotate it twice, bond, nope, alpha here. And then flip-flop away and your molecule is done. This way, blue by itself essentially can build the molecule. Red can come in and try to do the exact same thing. You'll have to tweak the paths a little bit so that it all works. It ends up looking like this. So here we have red going so that blue can grab it. It'll add 2 hydrogens, rotate around, and then flip-flop away, or you can use the hydrogen sensor away. This way, since red and blue are each building the molecule, it helps speed it up quite a bit. You have to kind of plan where all the things are. You move it around and see where you need to have input alpha and bond at the exact same time. Because let's see, on this one here, we have 2 things happening simultaneously, red input alpha and blue bond. So what happens is red inputs first and then blue bonds it. It has to be in that order since it's on the move. It saves a lot of time. 143. Now this was actually my solution from before the thread started. What I do is I go through the levels, I optimize them a little bit, see what kind of a good benchmark is. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it. I kind of assume that I know what I'm doing and that I'd get a good result. This turned out not to be a good result. I ended up in, what was it? 21st placed with this solution. So let's see how we can do even better. Now on my previous solution I had blue going around and rotating twice before coming back to the flip-flop sensor thing. This is the solution by the knife. He only has 1 rotate required. This way it saves him a little bit of time. Since each time you hit a rotate, you have to, it takes 2 cycles. 1 cycle to move on to the rotate, and then 1 to actually rotate the atom. This ends up 135, so better than mine. Now I don't know who submitted this solution, they ended up updating it, but this ends up at a cycle count of 133. It also only has 1 rotate, but it was the first solution I saw that had this section here. These parts right here. It combines this kind of a clever drop, grab, and rotate. Without that drop, grab, and rotate, it would have to move over here to drop at the soonest location and then re-enter the loop. With the rotate, like everything, this whole row here kind of can get shifted 1 over. So it ends up being 133. But we can still do better. This is the solution created by Wild M, ping code, and added space, and I think this has to be the best way to assemble methane. No doubling back on the Waldo's path, no flip-flops, no chemical sensors needed, only one rotate command. Ends up going like this. Finishes off at 124. But this did not have the drop, grab, rotate that I saw from that previous solution. What would that look like? That looks like this. Combines this extremely efficient path of bonding the hydrogen, dropping and grabbing and rotating this guy, and moving it around. This here is the fastest solution that I received for the Challenge 1. 123 cycles. Congratulations to SpaceChem, if that's how you say that, and sibling of TB being the only two people to come up with this solution. Now let's talk low symbols. You might think something like this is the simplest possible loop, just with 4 symbols, but a line is also a loop, kind of. It loops back and forth in one direction. From this, we can, let's see, we'll just have red and put a thing there. Now we're going to need to find a way to, let's see. Oh, I remember what I did. So since you can only want to input one atom, you have to have the thing on the end. If there's a symbol on the end, it only gets hit once per loop. Everything else in the middle gets hit twice per loop. So we can bond, grab our thing, input a hydrogen, bond, rotate, and we can just kind of keep going like this until, well, until we assemble the molecule. We have to find some way to get this assembled molecule off the track. So now we've got our linear solution going here. I thought the best way to do this would be to have blue do a grab drop here, so it grabs carbon on the way up, drops it down, and then using the sensor I could trigger the appropriate time for red to come in, grab it, and leave. Turns out right here, oops, red can wait right here until the molecule is almost done, then start coming over. Very small window to grab the methane, move it out of the way, and input a new carbon. And have blue output it to save some time. I thought this was a pretty clever solution. No one submitted anything like this. That's probably because it's a bad solution. I didn't think too well on this one. 449 cycles, but 14 symbols. But you can do much better. I really should have put the thing here. I don't know why I didn't, because then blue can escape. Oh. Red still has to input it, and that's just grab only. I don't know why this didn't occur to me, because now it's assembled and it's done, so you can move it over here and re-enter the line. In fact, we don't need red at all. If we have blue starting over here, he can input his own, let's see, up there, input his own carbon and speed through here. I don't need that output. So blue inputs his own carbon, leaves through the chemical sensor itself, and drops it. 616, that's pretty good. Can do better. No one actually submitted one like this. We can save some time, first of all, by... That's all gotta be red. Let's have blue sit on the wall and hammer on bond. That means we don't need a bond symbol there. That means we can move all of this down. So now with blue hammering on bond, we're here, and we can get a very quick 517 cycle 12 symbol solution. This was the best solution that anyone had submitted, and a lot of people submitted this. I don't remember the exact number, but there was quite a bit. I had to go through tie breaks for many places. Now some people submitted this solution. It's kind of exactly the same thing, except instead of a vertical line, the atom moves in a horizontal line back and forth, adding hydrogen. Since the horizontal line is a lot longer, takes a lot more time to do that, this solution ends up being a little bit slower. 804. Well, you can actually speed it up a little bit by having blue hammer on the output. That way, as soon as red finishes, the instant it drops, it gets outputted. This only saves one cycle at the end. But you know what? That one cycle proved the difference between 16th and 17th place. That's a point in the tournament. So every cycle can sometimes count. Okay, so let's move on to this challenge. There were very clearly two different families of solutions for this one. I'll show off the first one. So we have our typical blue grab, red input, so we can have this grabbed right away. And blue can come and rotate so that we can drop it in the omega zone there and repeat the cycle. The quickest red can do the exact same thing is to follow exactly one cycle behind. Drop. It's a little close, no collisions, but... Now here we can use the order of operations since red happens first to save another cycle. Red can drop. Blue can output. And finish the loop, and this should work. Yeah. So this is the of the first family of solutions, this is the fastest one. 71 cycles. No one actually submitted a 71 cycle solution. I assume it's because they did this. A couple of people had 72 cycle solutions. It's very important that I'll keep talking about it. Red happens first when it's simultaneous. So a simultaneous alpha grab, it has to be red alpha so blue can grab it. And then on the output, it has to be red drop so that blue can then output it. Like there. Simultaneous drop and output. It saves a cycle. Now this is not, from the first family solution, this is the fastest way. But there's a much better solution. So let's talk about hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen has a maximum bond number of 1. It bonds to the chlorine, makes hydrochloric acid. That's a stable element. You can't add anything to it. I believe this is what's called an ionic bond. I have to remember my chemistry days, but I think that's an ionic bond. But if you look at chlorine, it has a maximum bond number of 7. Now when it has 7 bonds, I believe it's using something called a covalent bond. This isn't really important because SpaceChem doesn't distinguish between ionic and covalent bonds. We can have a whole bunch of ionic bonds on chlorine. I believe chlorine's ionic bond number is 1, but since it has 7 covalent bonds, its maximum bond number is 7. That means we can do nonsense like this. Oh, no we can't. We have to move our things in here. Nonsense like this. Now it's obviously a lot faster to move over 5 outputs at once instead of 1 at a time, or you can stitch 2 together. I mean, you can stitch 2 together and move those over and do a loop, but we've got 5. Let's do that. Nope. That the right way, and put some stuff. At this point, we can have... Okay. If red starts debonding, right there, blue can output right away. So, nope, missed a bond here. So what's happening is red is debonding, so that this here gets dropped in the output zone, and then blue immediately outputs. And then we can drop and do a bunch of outputs and things. Now you could make this a loop and do it again. But why not have red come and grab a 5-molecule chain of hydrochloric acid and output that? Ends up looking like this. That was a little quick. Let me go through that again. So blue comes, stitches together a bunch of stuff, begins outputting. Red comes by, grabs the exact same amount, and outputs a whole bunch of things. Notice we don't even have loops. Blue terminates on this output here, because that's all it needs to do, and red just comes in. This was my solution that I created for the challenge. It turned out to be 23rd place, because I'm an idiot who didn't realize that you can move that all up one. And I think this works. No, what am I doing wrong? Oh, you need another bond here. Bond here. Right? I got it now. It's 2 more outputs, another bond there. Okay, so 23 cycles. We saved 1 cycle. I know there's something I didn't need here. We actually don't need that bond there. So 23 cycles, 44 symbols. That was quite a popular solution. A lot of people submitted that one. But we can do a little bit better. So this was a one of the solutions by Wild M. It's a 23 cycle solution. Save some time by having blue do a thing where instead of dropping its right away, or its molecule right away, it moves it up a little bit, drops it there. So now here it hammers on the output. Saves a little bit of, saves a couple symbols. Wild M was also one of the very few people who realized you could save time by having red double back on its own symbols. So we got rid of, let's see, we got rid of 2 alphas and an arrow, but we had to add in 1, so it saved 1 symbol or something like that. So by doubling back over it, let's watch that again. Let's try that again. So by having red double back over its input, it inputs 5, but only uses 4 symbols. So 5 inputs with only 4 symbols. That's a way to save a symbol. So 23 cycles, 40 symbols. I thought this was going to be the #1 solution. But it's not. It was the 2nd best. We can still do better. Now everyone who got really low cycles on this did a blue outputs 5, red outputs 5. This was a solution by Ping Code. He did an interesting thing where blue comes in with a 6-molecule beast, doubles back over itself to save some cycles, and begins outputting them. Now let's... Nope, missed it again. Nope, okay, one more time. Okay, we are at cycle 13 and we've just outputted our first molecule. But this solution will output 1 molecule every single cycle until it's done. Well, except for 1 there. 22 cycles! Ping Code stands alone. Ping Code was the only person to come up with a 22 cycle solution. Wait, this is a thing of beauty. I just want to sit and watch this thing for a while. Beautiful. One thing I like about this solution is that there are symbols on every single place there could be symbols, there are symbols. I don't believe you can do the double back alpha solution for that saved Wild M symbols because there's just nowhere to put the start even. You can't have a flip-flop, it's just symbols, it's just jam-packed. It's complex and it's beautiful at the same time, so congratulations Ping Code. Also congratulations to everyone who did submit solutions and is having fun, and I hope you enjoy the new challenges and continue to submit solutions and have fun with the thread.